Hello, welcome back. Today we're going to start off with the age-old question. Looking at this glass of water, we're going to ask ourselves, is it half full or is it half empty? The lighting in here is kind of weird. It all depends upon whether you want to finish emptying it or fill it back up. Where did it start? Was it full when we ground it, or was it empty? None of it really matters. The one thing we can all agree about this is that this glass is holding roughly half its capacity of liquids. The simple truth that none of us can argue with. What you want to do with it from there is up to you. In trying to manage your health, trying to get better, there's all this weird information out there, right? Vegetarians on that side and the carnivores on that side. All these doctors with maybe subtly different ideas of how to heal yourself. And it's confusing as heck. So it always helped me to have like a basic outline to push through and to focus on, yeah? And getting better. I had my doubts about it, right? But I always went back to my outline and said, you know what, okay. We can settle down, we can focus, and we can figure this out. So that's what we're going over today. It's called the basic healing principles. We have all injured ourselves, right? Maybe a cut on our finger or something, and it healed up. And while there are a few specific things that happen to heal that finger in relation to clotting, and I think there's a couple things that kind of speed up the process, right? But for the most part, I wanted you to get it into your head that that finger heals because that's what your body's in the process of doing anyway. Constantly, everywhere. We are falling apart, right? Degenerating. Cells are giving off wastes and whatnot. We're also in a constant state of regeneration. Every organ, every bone, everything is trying to regenerate. That is the basic principle behind all of healing. It's a process that's trying to happen anyway. There are two conditions which must be met, right? One, you must stop physically injuring yourself. If I cut that finger open every day, my body is just not going to keep up with that, and it's just not going to heal. It can't. So stop injuring yourself. This injury can be physical, it can be chemical. What are you ingesting into your system? Food coloring, preservatives, all that nasty stuff, medications maybe. What are you poisoning yourself with? It can be something in our environment we're inhaling. Fumes from a new carpet, paint, asphalt, God knows whatever else. That's, stuff in the water, stuff in the air, all these toxic stuff, all this pollutants coming in. You have to do your best at least to mitigate that so you're not injuring yourself further. I'm going to bring up autotoxicity. You can be poisoning yourself from within. Biological fluids, if they get stagnant, they start to thicken, and then they start to, rot. They're biological, right? They don't just sit there forever. Yeah, they get funky and nasty. My first issue, health-wise, that I conquered was irritable bowel syndrome. For like a week or so, it would look like I was pregnant. I was so gassy and bloated and farty, poopy, horrible. You don't want to know. Then it'd go away for a little while, then come back. And it's like, ah, God, why? Eventually I had a friend bring me to a nutritionist. He sold herbs and vitamins and stuff. And he gave me a cleanse to do. I did that. It was a 10-day thing. Pooed out a bunch of horrific nonsense. I felt better after that. And the worst of it was really over. But then I did another cleanse of the same thing, like the next month. Same thing, bunch of ook. Felt better yet. I got a book on enemas. Everybody's least favorite thing to do. But if you're sick, you gotta do what you gotta do. So, 1 month I did like 20 of those in a week. Just hammered my gut and trying to clean that out. I did all that cleansing. I changed my diet for the better. Stayed away from all the processed stuff. A few months after all that, one afternoon I got a stomachache. Rush over to the toilet and I pooed out what they call the rope. Black, rubbery, nasty, funky, you don't want to know looking kind of thing right there in the toilet, and whew, that was it. No more irritable bowel anything. All of that rotted mass was in my gut, and that just leaches into your bloodstream and causes other issues eventually, right? But there's toxicity within you. It can be your gut. If you have fatty liver condition, there are stagnant fluids in there also. I had always done liver cleanses and gotten out, 1 or 2 little green, they're like gumdrops. Little gumdrop looking gallstones, right? But one day I hunkered down, and over the course of like a year, I did 23 of them. Like every other week, I just cleanse. Finally, I got a cup and a half of little black gallstones out of my system. That was amazing. I felt awesome afterwards. But they were black. They'd been in there for so long, they start to rot and get funky. This is toxicity back into your system. Recently I've been trying to clean up my sinuses. I finally succeeded, and they're awesome right now. But I took a product, inhaled it, and I got sick for a couple days because a bunch of stuff burned up in there. But yeast, mold, fungus and stuff, that can nestle up in our sinus cavity. And once again, it gets funky in there and it leaches into our bloodstream. These are things that people overlook. And it's why if you take all the nutrition you want and you're just not getting anywhere, it's because you didn't stop the damage, right? Muscle knots and adhesions, which we'll go into depth in a later video. And once again, that's stagnant bodily fluids. They get stagnant, they get deoxygenated, they get funky. And yes, there's bad stuff that leaches out of that and into your bloodstream. In massage industry, if you work out a good area and get it all unknotted, those adhesions out, people can get a little sick afterwards, which is fine. But that's because you've released a bunch of stagnant garbage that your body has to process through, right? But before that, it was leaching into your bloodstream. There's really no way it can't be. So there's a bunch of different sources of injury, most of them coming from within because of stagnant fluids. After that, do your nutrition thing. This cut on our finger is in muscle tissue, and when you have a steak, that's what you're getting, right? Is muscle tissue. But if you have a dysfunctional organ, like a liver or a kidney, right? Those are specialized organs. They need specialized nutrients. So you might have to shift your diet a little bit. So this is the basic outline that I look at when I was trying to heal myself. Sometimes I had my doubts, but I just said, you know what, I know this is a thing. It doesn't, I think it's true, but it doesn't matter whether you think it's true or not. You need somewhere to focus your attention. You need an outline, right? Some kind of system to work from. So everything's just not random nonsense. Trying this, trying that, and failing everywhere. Old age. And I think your system's just regenerating to the point that if you wanted to, you could live forever. I mean, we will all eventually pass on from something. And some of us need to be sick spiritually because we need to learn something from that. And we're all going to pass on at some point, like I say, and it'll have to be something. It's either going to be a car wreck or disease, right? So we all pass from something, but I think generally, I mean, it's always regenerating. Could we live forever? I think potentially yes. Are we going to see it? Probably not. Old age is the accumulation of all this toxic garbage. Nowadays we're taking in a lot of plastics and whatnot, forever chemicals that just stay in our system. And they leach into our bloodstream a little bit at a time, poisonous slowly but surely. We don't get the nutrition necessary to rebuild things. That's a big issue. So instead of regenerating, we're degenerating and aging and falling apart. Muscle knots and adhesions, I think, are a bigger thing than anybody looks at. Once again, I was going to mention, your body's rebuilding all the time. And it takes like 7 years, I think they say, for essentially you to be a new person. But that bad shoulder you have, right, for the last decade, why is it still hurt? And the answer to that probably is adhesions and muscle knots. Stagnant fluids within the muscle and outside the muscle. And those stagnant areas, you don't have nutrients coming in, and you don't have wastes going out. So they are outside the regenerative process. That's why your shoulder still hurts. And we will address that stuff in later videos, and it'll be cool. But this is the basic outline I use. I hope it helps you out. Thank you.